that sound that we all know. What does the Steve say? What does the Steve say? Punch, 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 punch. A punch, 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 punch. A punch, 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 punch. What does the Steve say? Money, 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 gold.
Friday, May 29th, 2015. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5-ish. I am Dan Rubin. Yes, Thursdays are the Steve Wiltfong, but life got in the way yesterday, so we had to wait 24 hours. The man is here. Steve, how are you today?
Doing well. I want people to know that I was ready to go on Thursday, because I'm not sure why we didn't go on Thursday, but I'm now fired up about Friday, man. I look forward to it all week. And then when I get the call and say Friday, kind of a letdown.
Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but the reason was my 7th grade son did not inform me that he was getting an academic award the next morning until the night before. So
damn right he was. The academic award, but he didn't want to brag, so he told you too late.
How it works with 13-year-olds. Anyone who's had a 13-year-old and is listening to this podcast is nodding their head and probably reaching for the scotch.
Did you say scotch?
I did say scotch, yes.
We can start having a morning scotch while we do. I can go get some Templeton Rye Templeton, and fill up my glass. You can have your Glenlivet or whatever you have. And
Johnny Walker Black on the rocks with a twist. Little inside Dan here. You know you've ordered that too much when they're taking drinks at the table and your 8-year-old son cuts you off and orders for you and is accurate. Anyway, we put a thread up on the front row asking the people to reach out and ask us questions for the BM5. So we will start from the top. Spin Doctor asked the following question to Steve Wiltfong. There are satellite camps, new cost of living stipends, coaches doing antics on social media, players complaining about starving, and so on. From just, say, 3 years ago, what's really mattering to recruits now, and what seems to be separating the best schools of this process, such as Ohio State, from the less able, aside from the very obvious and powerful winning? So basically, I think he's asking, given what you've seen on the trail, what are the 2 or 3 things that recruits look at the most these days besides the winning program?
Right. So besides winning, I think that relationships is truly the number one thing. And that goes besides winning and program prestige. So Ohio State has both going for them. But then it's a relationship deal. And I think, Ohio State is right there with the best in the country, if not the best in the country, from top to bottom, from Urban Meyer on down to the off-field staff, and building relationships with recruits, their parents, their high school coaches, and getting these young men to campus as often as possible. So relationships is truly there. Then I think an opportunity to make an impact early. But all these kids, these high-ranking kids, all believe that they can do that. And when you have the number 1 or number 2 ranked recruiting class in the country, most of your guys are going to be high-profile kids that believe that they can come in and compete for time right away. So I think that those are 2 of the main things. I think 3 would be, close to home. Obviously, not everybody has to play close to home, but I would venture to say a lot of kids typically stay closer to home than not. And when I say closer to home, I mean car ride, doable. That doesn't go for everybody, but I think that plays a part sometimes, because with that goes back to the relationship thing. If you're close enough to drive, you're probably close enough to visit many times.
Next question from Son of a Gun. Oh, this is interesting. This is a really good one. We hear all the positives this is for you, Steve. We hear all the positives Ohio State has to offer recruits, but I was curious what negatives Steve may hear from recruits about the Buckeyes.
Well, sometimes, and this is very rarely, some places you go and visit, and Ohio State is a Lamborghini, in my opinion, and some people, prefer maybe the Bentley. Ohio State's glamour, flashy, loud. It's a production, and every once in a while you get a kid that is turned off by it. Obviously not often when you're bringing in top 5 classes every year, but every once in a while there's a kid that it doesn't resonate with.
Okay, next question from Dave Bucknuts. Does the 24/7 Sports have any plans to make sense of their star ranks? And why do recruiting gurus try to predict a high school player's NFL draft prospectus when guys like Kuiper struggle picking where a guy gets drafted even after 4 years of college film and combine results, interviews, pro days, etc.? They're more interested in hearing about the best college players, for example. And it's a decent one. JT Barrett and Braxton Miller are not first-round draft picks due to their size, but they are 5-star caliber college quarterbacks.
I answered it a little bit on the board. It's a great question. I actually agree with the poster, but at the same time, our industry is judged on draft day. For a month, it's exhausting when you read all the articles about how this kid was a 3-star and now he's a first-rounder, and there's no 5 stars playing in the Super Bowl, yada, yada. Our industry is judged on the NFL draft and how these guys fare in the league, whether that's right or wrong. It's just the way it is. And so I understand the 24/7 Sports side of it, too, where we have 32 5-stars because there's 32 first-round picks, and we're trying to get them all right. Obviously, no one will ever do that, but that's the goal. Jameis Winston should have been the number 1 player in the country coming out of high school. In retrospect, we did have him as a 5-star and the number 1 quarterback, but we should have had him number 1 because that's how we're judged. I understand what he's saying, where a kid could be a 5-star player in college and then not get drafted, but that doesn't happen too often. It can happen, Mike Hart at Michigan was a 5-star player at Michigan, Why can't JT Barrett be a draft pick? And I bet there's a chance we have JT Barrett ranked about right by the time he gets drafted, because I think he was in the top 100, so he could be a 3rd rounder. That puts you in the top 3 rounds.
But everyone has their dogs in the fight.
Dan, the people that get fired up about it are our best readers, though.
There's no question, and those are the people that drive the site, so we appreciate their fandom. Next question from Renegade Buckeye, FMK, Shannon Spake, Aaron Andrews, Samantha Ponder. I have to admit, I didn't know who Shannon Spake was before this. I went and Googled
I have to Google her right now.
It's Shannon Spake, S-P-A-K-E. I think she does like NASCAR stuff. Aaron Andrews and Samantha Ponder. I'm going to go, I'll go Andrews F, Ponder M, Spake K.
Not Spake for me.
No, Spake has got my K. I didn't know her, and then the picture didn't do it.
All right. Well,
so what do you got? Andrews and Ponder. Who gets the S? Who gets the M?
Well, I'm not, infatuated with any of these selections. I'll go back to there was a time where I definitely was an Aaron Andrews guy, so that's who I got to go with here.
F and M. You got to pick one for each.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know the NASCAR girl. I don't even know where to put her.
Neither did I. We'll go then. She's the K.
Fair enough.
And so Aaron gets the F and Samantha the M. All right, we agree. Next one. Let's just move on. Besides the obvious games, what sleeper tough game do you see on Ohio State's schedule?
Let me pull that bad boy up.
Beautiful. Like you don't have it templated in there. Here's my thing with picking an upset for Ohio State. You have to be able to score points because once Ohio State's offense got rolling and, Barrett got his feet under him last year, they're going to score 35 points. I don't see a defense out there right now that I'm comfortable from the jump saying would keep them under 35. Now, someone may be able to do it. I get, Penn State, Michigan State come to mind. But
Minnesota's got a lot of pros in that secondary. They should be pretty good, too.
See, that's defense. That's defense. I'm not saying they can't slow them down a little bit. But Ohio State, look at who they're going to score. They score on everybody. So you've got to be able to score points. So I guess that makes it Indiana for me, although I'm not getting a strong upset vibe on any of the sleepers. But I'll go with Indiana just because I think they can score points. What do you think?
Is Michigan a sleeper?
Technically it's not.
They're going to be ready to lay a whooping on Virginia Tech in that opener.
No doubt.
They're going to be awake for that one. So Northern Illinois is always a good they're as good a program that Ohio State's going to play. But I don't see them upsetting the Buckeyes in week 3 or ever. Michigan, it's the last game of the year. If they get anything out of their quarterback this year, they'll be a pretty good football team because I like what they have everywhere else. But Ohio State should run the table. With their toughest games are at home. They got Penn State at home and Michigan State at home. So the toughest games are at home.
They're going to be considerable favorites in every game. Such a tough question. All right, we got a couple more here. This is going longer than I expected. There's a question asking about Nick Saban, whining about rules.
It's just boring because it's not like it leads to commitment. Nick Saban's mad that Michigan's having a satellite camp in Prattville. When would Michigan ever beat out Alabama or Auburn for a kid from Prattville?
You have to remind everyone that Prattville's in Alabama, but I agree with you. Excuse me, but the guy like a Saban who's complaining when he's been favored in 42 of the last 45 games they've played, I don't want to hear. Here's one for you, Steve. Ready? Commits whose rankings should go up and down.
Well, of course, we'll stick with the Buckeyes. Well, this weekend at the Nike camp, really excited to see Luke Farrell and Jake Hossman next to each other again. That'll add some more clarity to perhaps who the top tight end is in Ohio right now. Jake Hossman appears to be the consensus. We have Terrell Hall as the number 44 player right now in the country. He could be a 5-star by the time it's all said and done. Michael Jordan's another guy who's at 207 right now, according to 24/7 Sports. He could get a bump. A guy in Ohio State's class that could maybe go down. Do we want me to answer that as well?
You like to bring the truth.
Yeah, Tough Borland is a guy that has all the ability to be a really good football player at Ohio State, but doesn't at this point look to bring that NFL size. So he's a guy that is at 185 right now that might be a little overshot. Kira Hawkins is a guy that I can't wait to see this week as well because from a physical standpoint, he seems to have everything you're looking for.
All right, last question, so we don't keep everybody into lunch here. Where would Ohio State's second-string team finish in the Big Ten?
I want to answer this.
Skill-wise,
it's a fun question.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'll go first. Skill position-wise, they'd be fine. I don't have any concern about that. The issues would be on the lines.
You'd be young on the O-line, but you'd be talented.
You would be. I'll tell you this. In terms of developing it, there'd be about 8 or 9 teams in the league that would take it either way. I think they're above 500.
I think they could beat Illinois, Indiana,
Purdue.
They'd have their hands full with, obviously they wouldn't beat Michigan State.
Keep in mind, they'd have a very good quarterback.
They'd have the best quarterback in the league still, maybe.
And that's how we will end it. Steve, you'll be back in 6 days. Maybe give everyone a little tease of what's coming up this weekend.
Man, I'm going to be hanging out with Bill Kurlick, and I think Stevie Hellwagon's going to be floating around. It's going to be a fun day in Columbus. I'm in and out. I'm going to be at the once they get done handing out the awards, I'm getting in the car, headed back home because I got to take over for the babysitter because my wife will be at the Nelly New Kids on the Block TLC concert. She's going to be out with the girls doing that.
That's cool. As Steve mentioned, there's a nice Nike camp in Columbus this weekend. We will be all over it. Bucknutters, keep it locked in. Have a great weekend.